Hi, friends. All right, this next chapter is called Options. And, oh, we read that one already. I was just trying to kind of pick up where we left off. There was the reading about the chapter about the click training. We had met some new characters. So the next chapter is actually called Full Wag. Are you ready to head over to the park? George asks as he passes through the living room. He's carrying 2 flashlights and a roll of masking tape. Yep, Julia says, as I do a head tilt to show I'm intrigued by the conversation. The place where Ivan and Ruby live is called Wild World Zoological Park and Sanctuary, but everybody just calls it the park. George works at the park as head groundskeeper, which means I've got some sway, and everybody who's employed there loves Julia. Give me a minute, I just need to grab my coat, says George. Straight home after that, though, Julia, says Sarah, just in case the weather gets worse. 1 minute the weatherman's saying we're going to have a little shower, next minute it's the storm of the century. Julia scratches my head. I thought Hurricane Gus wasn't coming until tomorrow. Sometimes they change course, says Sarah. They can be unpredictable. You know, George says with a wink, in the old days, they only named the hurricanes after women. Julia groans. Oh, that is so sexist. It's not just the wind that I'm worried about on this one, says George. It's the storm surge that could be a problem, flooding. Julia tries to make me wear her mom's latest creation, a knitted dog sweater with security written on it, which I suppose is an ironic reference to my petite size. I politely decline. Petite is small. All right, you win, Julia sighs. Ready for your walk, Bob? At the mention of the word walk, I go all crazy mud, so it's clear I'm on board with the idea. Humans love it when we get silly. I think they're weighed down by people problems that sometimes they need to be reminded what happy looks like. Julia attaches my string. I try for a little tug of war, but she refuses to buy it. Let's go see Ivan and Ruby, she says. Just hearing those names sends my tail into full wag. Oh, that's the name of the chapter, Full Wag. All right, next chapter is called Good Words, Bad Words. I've never met a dog who didn't get a big old grin on his kisser when walk slipped into a conversation. Dogs understand more than you might think. The Nature Channel says we're about as smart as the average human toddlers. 2-year-olds, my fuzzy rump, were a million times brainier than some babbling rugrat. There was a dog on that Nance Best Friend show who supposedly understood like 1,000 human words. Border collie, I think. Those guys need to switch to decaf. Boys and girls, that's a reference to coffee. Regular coffee is caffeinated coffee, and it sometimes gives people energy or extra hyperness. And decaf should not give you as much. So, border collies. He's saying no all those words, a little hyper. Maybe they need to switch their coffee to the lesser one. The narrator was gushing about this wonder dog, and I'm like, well, duh, Brainiac. Of course we understand people. Not everything, mind you, and some of us are more attentive than others. Depends a lot on how interesting your humans happen to be. Certain words will really cause our ears to perk up. The classics: treat, walk, frisbee, bacon, and don't forget the swear words: vet, bath, fireworks, vacuum cleaner. We always hear those. Next chapter is Clock versus Moon. Julia and I wait by the front door while George says goodbye to Sarah. I think maybe the hardest thing for me about being domesticated, a pet, if you insist, is that I can't control my schedule. If I had my way, I'd hang out with Ivan and Ruby all day, every day. Unfortunately, humans love their clocks. Dogs, we use the sky to tell time. Like any sensible creature, sky says it's dawn, time to eat. It's noon, time to eat. It's afternoon, time to eat. It's dusk, time to eat. It's midnight, time to eat. Point is, it's always time to eat. Dogs have a thing for the moon, too, like wolves and coyotes and our other relatives. No calendars for us. Moon looks like a claw. Moon looks like half a pancake. Moon looks like a tennis ball. Moon looks like a claw again. A chunk of time has passed. That's phases of the moon from a dog's perspective. But humans, nope, that's not enough. It's not a chunk, it's a month. It's not a dawn, it's 6:32 a.m. on a Thursday. And boy, oh boy, we better hurry up and go to school or the office or change the baby. But who gives a woof about feeding the poor, starving, sad-eyed, grumbling-tummied dog? After a spell, I got used to the comings and goings of Julia and her mom and dad. But it keeps changing. Julia leaves early for school and is gone most of the day. She returns home excited and energized. Good sense, mostly. But every now and then she comes back smelling a little like me after a visit to the dog trainer, battle weary and ready to crawl under the covers. Sarah, who was pretty sick for a while, is feeling fine again, thank goodness. But she went back to work and she's away all day too. And George, who has a job at Ivan's place, works 5, sometimes 6 days a week. That means it's just me and the guinea pigs a lot of the time. I have a doggy door and an outside run, but it's not the same as touring the neighborhood with your person. Peeing without a potential audience is like talking to yourself. Sometimes I'm the teensiest bit jealous of Ivan and Ruby. They always have someone around. Which is crazy, I know. I'm free and they're not. But there it is. I told you, I'm not a saint. And the next chapter is called The Shelter. I know our route to Ivan and Ruby by heart, and I can't help tugging a bit, even though I'm not supposed to. It's been a couple of days since I've seen my pals, and I need my friend fix like I need air and water and belly rubs. We don't live far. Down to the end of the street, around a quarter, good news source there, and then a few blocks. There's a little picture there. When I walk Julia, well, okay, I suppose it looks like she's walking me, but I beg to differ. There's a place we pass that always makes me jumpy and bummed. It's the animal shelter, and I know it's a good place, a space for pets who don't have a safe home of their own. When I was abandoned on the highway just a few weeks ago, a nice cage with a soft towel in it and a fresh bowl of water, well, I would have given just about anything for that. Still, when I walk by and I hear all those desperate barks and meows and squeaks, it gets to me. Sometimes having great hearing is a pain. Thing is, I realize I have a home and the gang in there doesn't, and I try not to think about stuff like that, you know? I mean, it's not like I can do anything about their tough breaks, right? And in fairness, maybe those animals aren't like me. I've always been a resilient, hardworking sort. Maybe some of those guys even made their own bad luck. Don't get me wrong. I try to be a nice guy. I do what I can to make the world a better place, sure. Chat with the guinea pigs, lick the strawberry jelly off Julia's hands, do my wagon dance when the parents come home and make them feel good. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. That's a little saying that kind of means like you do a favor for me and I'll do something for you. But it's like I said before, you gotta look out for numero uno. Guess that's why the shelter harshes my mellow. It's just, you know, I'd rather not have to hear those guys every time I walk by. Makes me sad. Reminds me of the bad old days. Next chapter is called Drulius. Instead of Julius, which is a name, it's Drulius, the drool. I know this guy back when I hung out at the mall with Ivan and Ruby. Nice dog named Julius. Basic mutt, maybe some lab and golden in there somewhere. He'd done some hard time at a couple of shelter. One of those dogs you knew had seen more of his share of the bad stuff than the world can throw your way. One ear bitten off, scars, a limp. Julius lived in his backyard, winter, spring, summer, fall, chained up mostly, flies on his food, empty water bowl way too often. Still, he always had a nice word to say when I'd pass him on my daily rounds, checking out the neighborhood trash cans. Once I saw his owner, again that word, step onto the back porch. Julius was barking, but he had a good reason. A stranger had just passed by. Barking is what we're supposed to do in that circumstance, right? Maybe he's a UPS guy. Maybe he's a serial killer. I mean, come on, we're not the FBI. So, anyways, owner came out, big guy, mean looking, gave Julius a hard kick with his boot, yelled, "Shut up, you fool!" Disappeared. Julius looked at me kind of embarrassed. We kept talking. A few minutes later, the owner came out again, put some towels on a line. Julius headed over, tail between his legs, cowering, saying, "I'm sorry, I love you, I am yours, 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 yours," with the whole dog being. Guy completely ignored him, headed back inside. "He's having a tough time," said Julius when the guy was gone. "He's a jerk," I said, because subtlety is not my strong point. "No, he loves me, he does. He has a funny way of showing it," I said. "Humans," said Julius, licking a sore in his leg. "You know how they can be. Do I ever. But we gotta stay true. Love him, forgive him." I thought about that. Thought about it a lot. "Why, though?" I finally asked. "Why do we have to forgive them?" Julius looked shocked, then confused, as if I just asked why cheese tastes good. "It just does. That's the way it is," he said. "That's what we do, Bob." I started to reply, but I managed to hold my tongue, which is not easy for me. It's a very long tongue with a mind of its own. There was no point in making Julius feel worse than he already did. Later that morning, I found half a turkey sandwich. I gave the whole thing to him. Well, okay, I had a taste first, but still. Next chapter is forgiveness. Seems like forgiving humans is one of those doggy things we're all supposed to do, like having zoomies or doing bed boogies. It's written into our canine souls. Well, somehow I didn't get the memo. the one that apparently went out to every other dog on the planet about forgiveness. Why should I forgive humans who tossed me and my siblings out into the night? When you forgive, you lose your anger, and when you lose your anger, you get weak. And when you're weak, you can get hurt all over again. We're going to stop there. The next chapter is called The Art of Human Watching. We'll pick up there next time. Bye, friends.